Hello everyone, Bandit Spurs here. On today's video, I'm going to be going through the process of completing a digital art challenge that one of my friends and I have set up together. So if you're interested in seeing some of my digital artwork, I would recommend sticking around and we'll get right into it. So real talk for a second, COVID's been really difficult for a lot of us creatives because I think a lot of us have been feeling a lot of burnout, myself included in that group for sure. I have found that during the quarantine we've been going through, I haven't really wanted to work on any cosplay fabrication or even put on a costume, but the little hamster that's inside the hamster wheel in my head has been spinning and it wants to create things. So one of the things that I fell into was the pursuit of digital art. I've always been an artist and always loved creating character concepts, fantasy designs, but I've never been brave enough to sit down and learn digital art because it seemed so intimidating. And while I did have a very steep learning curve at the beginning, I have come to love it so much. I'm not the only one in this. One of my very good friends that I've met through the cosplay community is Erik Parades. He's a photographer, a part-time cosplayer of his own, and he also, during COVID, at the same time as me essentially, got into digital art. And we've been looking for ways to interact with each other, have fun things to do, and we decided that we were going to give ourselves a collaboration art challenge. So the parameters were pretty vague. We've decided that we're both going to do a square canvas art, a character of the bust up, and that's pretty much all we have decided upon having in common. From there, it's kind of carte blanche. So let's get into it and I will show you what some of my skeleton sketches are. So what you're seeing right now is typically how I like to start some of my artworks. When I can, I like doing a couple different thumbnails by hand of the character that I'm drawing so I can get an idea for proportion, movement, and shape. Out of these three thumbnails, I think the one that I'm working on presently is the one that I'm actually going to go with. I like the movement, I like where her hands are placed. So now that I have pretty good base figured out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to slap it into Clip Studio Paint, and then I'm going to refine the lines digitally and really refine my idea that I have for this character.
Alright, so what we have here is me starting to do a second layer of kind of skeleton lines. So this is just going over my initial sketch with more sketching. I think here I'm using a pencil brush, the dark pencil, and I'm just kind of planning out what I want for clothes and the finer details. And then after I have this settled, I'm going to go in with the inking pen and refine the lines for my final pass. And here we are. I wanted her to be some kind of shepherd maiden, so I have put a little lamb on her shoulder, and I think it's just adorable. So here we can see that I've already started working on my final line work. For this, I'm using a vector layer so I can manipulate the lines once they're on, and the brush that I'm using is a turnip pen brush. I like this brush because it gives a nice solid crisp edge line, and I just like the cleanness of it. So I think a lot of digital artists develop their own shorthand for making their workflow a bit more efficient, and when I'm doing character portraits, this is the way that I like to do it. When I have my lines done solidly, I like to go in and I like to just fill in a base flat layer color so that later on when I go back to do highlights and stuff, I can have a nice base all solidified on one nice layer. So the green line you're seeing blip around on screen is a subtool that I use on my vector layers. It's used to adjust the line width of the line work that I've already done to make minor adjustments once the thing's done. So I tend to like to narrow here, maybe make it a little bit thicker there, just to enhance the depth of a character portrait. The next shorthand technique I like to use when doing character artwork is for the shadow work that I do. So what I've actually done is I've duplicated my flat colors layer, and I've taken that duplicate layer and set it with a multiply filter. And then with that multiply filter, I threw on top of a layer mask. I think it's Mark Outside Selections. And once that is done, I take a white colored brush and I just go around and I paint in where I would like the shadows to appear. I usually do several different passes with a couple different brushes just to get different neat textures, and then I tend to blur things because I'm a bit nervous about texture. I like it, but then I see it and I don't like it, so I go back and I blur the shit out of things. It's something that I need to work on. A little bit more confidence would probably go a long way. And there we have it. My maiden portrait is done. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out despite some time constraints I was working under. So up next is going to be me opening up the file that Erik has sent me of the portrait that he did. And I'll be working on that in the next few days, so you can expect to see another video coming out to finish off this collaboration project. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you around the sewing machine.